Welcome to our channel, Behind My Story. Please like, share, and subscribe.
I adore my family. I adore our get togethers, our joking around, our meals, everything. I can't imagine my life without them. But one day, I almost killed them all. No, I'm not insane, I assure you, so don't worry. I'll tell you what happened. My name is Ginger. I'm 18 years old. As you can see, I'm wearing an apron. This is because I love to cook. I like all things kitchen related. My happiest moments are when I see my family eating a meal together. I always cook for them. They enjoy it too, and they support me. They let me try different dishes from different countries. I like to listen to their opinions about my cooking skills. I'm also addicted to cooking programs. One day, my cousin Charlotte came to visit before Thanksgiving Day. She likes to dress all in black, and today was no exception. For some reason, she had called me earlier and asked me if I had ever heard of Thanksgiving's Day curse. I said no, of course, so she told me that the curse applied to large families who ate a big meal together on Thanksgiving. The curse was the result of an evil spirit named Vicky, who would possess the cook's body in some family's household and poison the whole family. She said that Vicky used to be a housewife who was a great cook and who loved her family, and yet she poisoned them all during Thanksgiving meal. She watched them die one by one, and then she killed herself as the grand finale. At first, I thought Charlotte was joking and trying to scare me, and I told her that it was nonsense, just an old wife's tale. But she said that every legend was usually based on facts. I paused for a second. That was partly true. I went to my room and searched the internet and found the same information about the curse that she had relayed to me, which frightened me even more. Vicky was just like me, or was it the opposite? I stopped myself from getting deeper into this. I needed to focus on preparing the meal. On Thanksgiving's Day, my father bought some groceries, which included a white bottle of liquid. I presumed it to be milk, though it smelled a little weird, but I thought it was my imagination. My aunt called and said she would be arriving a few minutes later, so I had to hurry and finish the meal quickly. My finishing touch was dessert. It was going to be pumpkin candy. I prepared it using the milk that Dad bought. After everyone had arrived, I served dinner. We all sat down and prayed before the meal. Then, everyone started eating. Things were going well. Everyone was chatting merrily and complimenting me on the food. I was overjoyed. But somehow, I couldn't shake this feeling that something was wrong. I looked at Charlotte, but she smiled supportively. Suddenly, one by one, the people around the table started clutching their stomachs and groaning in pain. The last thing I remember before I lost consciousness was my brother calling the ambulance. When I woke up later, I was lying in a hospital bed, alongside all my family members, who were also lying in the hospital bed. The doctor came in and reported happily that we would all be fine. Then he looked at me and winked. He also said, "Next time, young lady, I suggest not using white paint in your cooking." And that was how I almost killed my loving family.
A love triangle can tear people apart, especially if it involves you, your husband to be, and your mother. Yeah, I know. Sad and complicated, isn't it? But let me tell you my story. I am Linda. I am 21 years old. I was a ballerina, and I loved acting on stages and theaters. I enjoyed all kinds of arts. They called me the butterfly because I was always supporting my colleagues and giving them positive energy. I didn't care much about love stories because I felt that none of the boys I'd ever met ever rose to the level of hero in my assessment. That is, until I met Ethan. He was an angel, handsome, educated, and a true artist. He could play music, draw, and direct movies. He was adored by all the girls on our drama team. And when he was assigned to direct our play, I ended up adoring him too. I liked everything about him. His voice, his speech, his manner, his style, and that lovely smile of his. One day, I decided to tell him about my love for him. He was working in the theater, and I asked him if he could excuse himself for 5 minutes so I could speak with him in private. He accepted, and once we were alone, I confessed to him, "Ethan, I think I love you." He was mildly surprised and pleased, it seemed, and he asked me to repeat my words again. I did, and he suddenly swept me into his arms and embraced me and said, "You are the answer to all my dreams, Linda. I have loved you from the first day I laid eyes on you." We began spending a lot of time together. One day, he told me that he wanted to meet my mother. I asked him why, and he said that by tradition, he needed to get my mother's permission to marry me. I was ecstatic and felt as if I were floating in the air. I rushed home breathless to tell Mom, who was not only my mother, but my best friend as well. When she saw me, she said, "So, someone wants to marry you, huh?" she said. Amazed, I asked her, "How did you know?" She replied, "I can tell by that euphoric look on your face and your rosy cheeks." Then she smiled lovingly. I invited Ethan to come by my home tomorrow at 8 o'clock, and I began counting down the hours till his arrival. At 8 o'clock sharp, the doorbell rang, and when I opened the door briskly, he was standing there holding a bouquet of flowers. He handed the flowers to me, and I invited him to come in and sit in the sitting room. I went to Mom's room to hurry her up. Then I returned to sit with Ethan. Mom appeared at the door saying, "Hello, Ethan. Please forgive me for not greeting you at the door." I looked at Ethan. His eyes were transfixed on Mom's face. From that point, he never took his eyes off Mom for the rest of the evening. Even worse than that, whenever he would speak to her, he would just ignore me completely, as if I weren't in the same room as they were. And his looks weren't simply looks of admiration. No, they seemed to be deeper than that. I was both stunned and hurt. I had to struggle to suppress my rolling thoughts. When he finally had to leave and excused himself, he ended up not even saying a word about our marriage. Instead, he just promised Mom that he would visit her again sometime. "Ethan is so cute," Mom said after he left. Peeved, I asked, "Is he just cute, or did you like him a lot?" "I like him a lot because he will be your future husband," she replied, looking at me strangely. I was so jealous of my mom. Do you believe it? I went to my room and found a message from Ethan. "I enjoyed my visit immensely. I simply adore your mom. She is so elegant." I stabbed at my phone's touchscreen and messaged back, "Well, what about me? Am I elegant too?" He replied defensively, "Yes, of course, you are always beautiful. That goes without saying. I love you." Ethan spent the next few days constantly talking about my mom. He even asked me for her phone number. The nerve of this guy! I suddenly saw my love life crashing in flames and became so jealous of my mother that I avoided speaking to her altogether. Ethan was now speaking with her more than me. I began to argue with him over silly, trivial things. He asked me what was wrong, but I didn't answer him. I just gave him the cold shoulder treatment. One day, Mom and I were watching a movie at home, and I couldn't help but notice that she was receiving a text message every minute or so. She casually but subtly held her cell phone at just such an angle that I couldn't inadvertently read the text messages from my vantage point. Ooh, how I hated my mother at that moment. Suddenly the doorbell rang. She put down her cell phone to go answer the door. In that instant, I snatched it up and began ravenously scanning her message thread. From Ethan, "Your face is etched in my heart." I immediately took a screenshot and forwarded it to my phone. When Mom returned from answering the door, I showed her the message from Ethan that I had read and demanded an explanation. She seemed confused, then enlightened, and said, "Oh, okay, I can explain. Just calm down." I shouted angrily, "Explain what? That you two are lovers and I am a blind fool?" She replied in a sage, calm voice, "There is a misunderstanding here, and if you will calm down for just a minute, I can explain everything." Suddenly, I heard Ethan's voice behind me. He proudly held out a necklace to show me. It had Mom's picture in it. I was incensed, outraged. I said, "You have the gall to show me this necklace with my mom's picture in it? My God!" Confused and taken aback at my sudden outburst of animosity, he cautiously offered in clarification. No, she isn't your mom. She's mine. Look again." Stumped, I looked at the photo more closely. He was right. The woman in the necklace wasn't Mom. When I first looked at her, I mistook her for Mom. The resemblance was uncanny. He explained gently, "When I first met your mom, I was overjoyed. I felt that destiny had granted me not only a new wife, but a second mother as well. When I called your mom the first time, I told her that she looked just like my mother, and I asked her to please consider me as her son, too." I was shocked, speechless. Mom and Ethan were both crying tears of joy. I I'm so sorry for my jealous behavior. Please forgive me for my stupidity, I said in a deeply apologetic voice. Today is my wedding day, and I'm very pleased and proud to tell all my readers out there that my mom loves my husband and he her. And isn't that just the sweetest thing?